Hello, Geneva. I'm Mayor Kevin Burns, and this is another edition of Business Beat. Today we have the pleasure of joining Tom and Katie of Art History Brewing here in downtown Geneva, celebrating nearly 2.5 years, and you of course chose to open in May of 2020. But this place has not only expanded, but continued to provide excitement, entertainment, and dare I say, specialty brews.
Yes,
So Tom, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
coming
Katie,
out.
thank you as well.
Spending some time with us.
This is very exciting. So brag a little bit about your cool shop.
Okay. Well, back in 2017, I left the corporate world, and I recently got back into home brewing with a good buddy of mine, and reignited passion. Tried to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my pre-retirement life. Why risk it all and let's just go into the brewing industry. So back in 2018, I attended the Siebel Institute in Chicago. Did a 2-week course. It basically sealed the deal for me. And then I attended a 12-week course, which was 7 weeks in Chicago, 5 weeks in Munich. So I was intending to be part of the brewing team, but some very smart people in Siebel said, run the business and hire the best brewer you could. So in 2018, we started looking for property here in Geneva and built a business plan. And in 2019, met Greg Brown, who's our brewer, brewer extraordinaire, and we're very lucky to have him because his thoughts on brewing traditional European styles and our business model meshed perfectly. So Greg and I got together, we created some recipes, and then we started preparing for a 2020 opening. And
then what happened during 2020?
Let's see, sometime. So when we opened our doors, we really couldn't open our doors. So we basically brought growlers of beer out to people waiting in line outside.
Unbelievable.
And we did that for a few weeks until the restrictions were lifted. But what sold me on this place here in Geneva was in March of 2018, the snow was melting, and we saw some paver stones out front of this place, and I had no idea there was a patio actually here. And the goal was to be close to downtown and to have outdoor seating. So those two things meshed. This was several different locations. We tore down the walls to create a single space, but we wanted to be close to downtown. We wanted to be part of the festival, and we want to be part of the the vibrancy that's actually downtown Geneva. And so this actually worked out really well for us.
Well, you brought that vibrancy further west as well, because this is really a destination spot.
It was. Geneva Plaza had just recently started improving the infrastructure, quality of tenants. The Havliceks at Ace were really proactive in helping us understand what they wanted to do with this place. And so we felt that this was a place that could rejuvenate this area of the corner of the
downtown. And it's perfectly situated. You're literally perfect angles.
Right, and we have some nice food vendors around us, some restaurants, which people can bring the food in, so it worked out really well.
Now, of course, we have to give a shout out to Cindy, who
Cindy
couldn't be with us today, but nevertheless, without her leadership, talent, support.
So Cindy is my partner in crime, and what she's done is she allowed me to spend the years necessary not working full-time to focus on this. And then about a year ago, she joined the team, and her specialty is sales. And so she's actually helping us build the business outside of the four walls here.
Unbelievable. Katie, you're the general manager?
I am.
You run the show?
Sure.
Sure, does it sound good? And I've had the pleasure of hanging out with you before. And you have this very inviting personality.
You're so kind.
And of course, when I was here that one day, people from all over were enjoying themselves. I mean, all over the place. Wasn't that fun?
That's true. It is great. This has been, like you said, it is kind of like a little destination.
It is. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And of course, we're standing in front of clearly one of the coolest shots in the whole place. These are all the tanks.
These are our serving tanks.
Isn't that something?
We do primary fermentation in the brewery, which we'll give you a glimpse of a little later. But all the beer ends up here, and then the beer is, in some cases, lagered a little bit, but we transfer the beer here, we carbonate the beer, and we serve the beer all out of the same tank, so it's as fresh can be. The beer actually goes through these lines, goes into the cooler behind us, and then is pumped underground up into the bar. So what you'll see is a very clean sight lines with nothing sort of hanging over, and it's part of the sort of the site. We want to create a real clean look where anybody in the tap room could see everything else in the brewery.
It's clean and it's got a nice urban feel to it too.
Yes, it's got a little bit
really
of
cool.
We want to be light and airy.
And you are.
The front windows are kind of throwing a lot of light into the building, and then we went with colors and light instead of. A lot of the tap rooms we've been in were sort of like someone's garage,
right?
Or really that flagstone and dark wood, reclaimed barn wood, and really has more of a pubby feeling. We wanted to do something a little more airy, a little more vibrant.
Unbelievable. Well, so far so good. This is the coolest place on earth. We're going to go check out some other corners of this dynasty, so stick with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we made our way to the brew house. We are donning our OSHA certified glasses because safety is everything. So we're here where the beer is cold but first hot.
That's right.
That's amazing, isn't it? So tell us about this cool space.
So you're in the middle of a 10-barrel brewery.
Wow.
We squeezed everything into what would be like 10-foot ceilings below the joist. So the choice of the space had some trade-offs, but we worked with a vendor who was really efficient at getting everything down low enough that we could fit it all in.
Wow.
Having a 6-foot-plus brewer was a little difficult being up on the stand.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to...
Greg has about an inch clearance, so he's never banged his head. Behind us is a 10-barrel brew house.
Wow.
It's a 2-vessel brew house. Basically, we mash in the grain. The grain basically comes in these 55-pound sacks. We crush it. We don't actually mill it. We sort of crack it open. And then we transfer it from this roller mill and grist case up into our brew house. So we mash it in, create a big porridge. It's called a mash. And we transform that grain into sugar. And so we take that sugar, water, which is now called wort, and then we transfer it over to this vessel where we boil it. We add our hops, and then once the brew is all finished, we put it through a heat exchanger, where we bring that boiling wort down to 68 degrees for ales or 48 degrees for lagers. And we use both groundwater and glycol. And that colder wort gets transferred to the tanks that are, you'll see, in our cellar. We call this the cellar area, or the cold side. And that's where we add the yeast, and then the yeast makes beer for us. The old adage is that brewers make wort, and the yeast actually makes the beer. So once
interestingly enough, I used to have a boiling wort.
You got lanced?
But I got to ask you a question here, and this is from a unsophisticated individual. Does the brewmaster know when to add, or do the machines help advise him or her when to add?
All right, so I think the brewmaster always knows when to add.
Always knows.
And can, depending on the technology of the system, can advise the system to do it for him.
Is that right?
Or her.
Interesting.
But at this point, this is a fairly manual system. So Greg will add his hops. He'll add any sort of ingredients to either the water or the mash or the boil kettle. And then he's monitoring everything by time and temperature. So those are the two things that temperature and time are the differentiators between a good beer and a great beer.
So he's both a scientist and an artist.
Right, exactly. Okay. And that's where we kind of quote the art of lager.
You can borrow that one too.
Thank you so much.
It is art.
You'll see it on Instagram.
It is art. It is art.
So two notes on the water, because I think it's really important. One is that when the wort is giving up its heat, the water goes from groundwater temperature, which might be about 60 degrees, to like 100 and something, because it's picking up all the heat. And we capture all that energy and we store it in this tank here. So all of that energy from the hot water and the hot wort, we use that to keep our next brew's water hot.
Is that right?
Yeah. And the other thing about Geneva water, and I want to make this statement because it's why we're here, is that Geneva has a reverse osmosis system, which was installed not too long ago. But the water here is perfect for brewing the styles of beers that we like, which are lagers, and it's just we don't do anything except filter it. In a lot of cases in neighboring towns, brewers have to add their own reverse osmosis system.
Is that right?
Yeah, I like the fact that Geneva side streams some of that well water, and so you get a beautiful sort of low hardness water that is just perfect for lagers.
Now, everyone tuning in here is probably asking the same thing I'm thinking. This all started in your house.
Yes.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people do the same thing. But you took that next step with obviously a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And Cindy thought, what the heck are you doing?
At first.
At first.
Yes. Yes, I think over time she saw that I was pretty committed. And then instead of committing me, she supported me.
And this was always a passion of yours, even in the corporate world, when you were in the corporate world?
Yeah, I think when I look back over the past 10 years, Cindy and I have been going to breweries and brew pubs. Our honeymoon was in, actually a post-honeymoon was in Europe, and we visited breweries, and we went to Belgium and Luxembourg and France and Germany, and we visited breweries, and we visited little pubs and stuff. So going back, we've probably been to over 300 breweries or brew pubs.
And now you got your own.
Yeah, it's what happened in the last 3 years is kind of amazing. Really.
It is amazing. It's very exciting. Yeah. And Katie, you're welcoming people from all over the place.
I'm trying.
Yeah, it's exciting as heck, isn't it?
It is.
What's the most common reaction and response you receive from folks who first visit Art History Brewing? I can only imagine. It's like, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, no, there is some of that.
Yeah.
Because we have, just based on our location, like the strip mall.
Sure.
People don't necessarily think that there's going to be a brewery back here. And then, just like Tom was talking about the vibe in here before and the aesthetic, the like Art Deco, a little bit lighter vibe in here is definitely super different for a lot of brewery aesthetics. And it's I don't know, it's a comfortable, like,
it's very comfortable
place to be.
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
So, and then our beer is really good.
Yes, yes. I've heard rave reviews.
As a biased but outsider,
sure.
I have been thrilled, and now I'm spoiled and only want to drink Art History Greg Brown lagers. So,
well, I got to admit, and in the interest of full disclosure, my nephew had his rehearsal dinner here.
That's right.
And of course, they still sing the praises regarding
that was a really nice
Aria's lovely event here. Yeah. So you guys are extraordinary hosts.
Well,
so. I wasn't invited, but nevertheless, I thought it was a nice time. So let's continue on, folks. We're going to check out more of Art History Brewing. Okay, we've made our way into the tap room here at Art History Brewing, and I've got to ask Tom a couple questions, Katie a couple questions. Okay. Katie is donning, as is Tom, the Art History Brewing logo. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the etymology of that image.
So we had this vision of being sort of a art and architecture driven content. We're obviously in the area of the country where Frank Lloyd Wright and the Prairie style has a lot of influence. Grain and barley influenced his chevron pattern, and so we want to incorporate that into the logo somehow without being too obvious. So we did a little online contest where we had designers from around the world submit logo designs, and a woman from Ukraine actually submitted this particular logo, which has the I don't have it on mine, it's on there, has the chevron patterns, but she very cleverly flipped the middle and then boldened the lines so they actually spell AHB, in a really stylized fashion. And not a lot of people pick up on that immediately.
Okay,
but after
I admit,
a while,
I did not pick up on that immediately.
Yes, it's not something that we want to be obvious. We're all about double entendres here too. We like to play games.
Tom is a punny guy.
Tom's a funny guy.
So the logo, the genesis was through this artist in the Ukraine.
That is incredible.
And then we started using that, and we've had so much luck with this online contest that we did the same thing with our label designs. And then a woman from Berlin actually submitted our first label design, which we loved, which is Art History Major, which is on the wall behind us. And it was basically taking an iconic piece of Chicago architecture and doing a line drawing of it and being, sort of focused on font and color scheme. So again, part of our brand, I guess part of our brand is to be loyal to the style of the beer, be loyal to the history and the time period, and then try to incorporate that into a label that's simple yet sort of iconic. And you'll see most of our labels have been line drawings of various things
Right.
that relate to that particular beer style or the place and time of that beer's origin.
And Katie told me that these images on the wall, these pieces of art,
Yes.
are done by a local artist and
Yes, so the woman from Berlin did most of the original artwork, and
that's
then
incredible.
We had a couple of unique requests that were sort of different. So we engaged a local artist from St. Charles. His
Wow.
name is Ishan Hampton Gross, and he did some of our more, I would say, anniversary labels,
Okay.
special edition labels.
Got
He
it.
does a lot of more of our recent label work. So he's been kind of filling in as we evolve the brand and as we evolve the artwork.
And even the order here sign reflects that font.
Yes, so if you start looking around, you'll find that chevrons show up everywhere, from
Everywhere.
the sound baffling in the ceiling
Yeah.
to the
yeah, I didn't notice
bookshelf where the games are being held,
Wow.
to the sample trays.
And all the merch is cool.
The merch is got.
And I see people wearing this all over the place.
Yeah,
Are
so-
you paying them or they actually purchased it?
Oh, people are purchasing. They better be purchasing.
They better be. Yeah. Otherwise, you're unaware of what's going on.
That's right.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
fun to see your logo bopping around maybe in Chicago. We were at
Yeah.
downtown there, at a festival event, and someone had the hat on. It's like, oh, we got to talk to the person.
that's neat.
Find out where they got it. And it's always cool to see your logo in Chicago.
Now we're going to check out the different pour glasses
Yeah.
in just a moment, but a quick question for you. You made a conscious decision not to also be a dining establishment. Why?
It's really two different businesses. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we want to focus on what we
Do well.
what Greg does well and
Got it.
put all our energy behind that. We do think that food is important. It keeps people around. So we are very encouraging to people to bring their
Exactly.
own food in. And we have a lot of pop-ups and
Right.
food trucks that
I know.
Katie basically handles
It's
all
great.
of that, making sure that our customers on the weekends especially have these options because it makes a big difference.
And it offers the variety you might otherwise not be able to offer.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it also allows us to partner up with other local small businesses.
Absolutely.
And, have some of that cross promotion and support other businesses in the area. And that's a super cool thing. And
Yes, it is.
they do that well and we do this well. And so it
perfect.
works out really. I told them when I started, I was like, because there's always that thought, like, do you want to build a kitchen? Like, should we have food here?
Right.
It's like, nobody wants me to run a kitchen. It would be a terrible idea.
You heard it here first, folks.
Terrible.
Nobody wants
Terrible
Katie to
idea.
run a kitchen. So we're going to check out not only the pour glasses, but how you pour.
Yeah.
And then we're
I
going
can
to
do
learn
that.
about where you're located and all that good stuff. So folks, don't go away. We're behind the bar here at Art History Brewing, and I am going to defer to the experts, not only about what we see in front of us, but then we're going to check out a pour by Katie, the general manager. Tom?
Well, as you can see, we might be a little manic on the number of and sizes of glassware that we have here at Art History.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, just pour me a beer, but
Yes.
the glass matters.
Right.
glass matters.
And as you can see, there's no shaker pint here, which those in the industry might understand. But what we want to do is we want to serve the correct beer in the correct style in the correct glass at the correct temperature and the correct carbonation level.
Wow.
So there's a lot that goes into pouring a beer. And as you can see, we have a lot of different styles of glassware. Each one sort of is specific to one or two different beers that we serve here. The other thing is that I've always been frustrated traveling around where you only had one or two choices of pour sizes. Yeah, in some cases you only do a sample.
I'm the same way.
Yep. So if you want to sample something, but you don't want just a little taster, and you want to do something with 8 ounces, maybe the last beer of the night. You just want something to to savor over while you're ready to leave. You get an 8, you get a 12, we get a 16. So these are called Woolly Beckers, and they're really kind of our glassware we do a lot of serving in. But when we serve an English pint, we want it in a proper pint. When you serve a German Hefeweizen, you want it in this particular glass. If you want a nice fruited saison or something really strong, we will put it into a little 10-ounce stemware. This is our German Helles mug for those beer garden pours that you just want to sit around in the summer and pound a few of these half liters. All of our Czech beers will go into this Czech style mug. And then last but not least, you want to leave with something, we carry a 32-ounce
That is cool.
little twisty top can, so we can fill pretty much any beer that we serve here as a to-go if we don't carry it in a pre-canned 16 ounce.
Now I got to ask you before you continue. As a beer aficionado comes in and says, "Yeah, I want one of your Czech beers," does he or she know you better darn serve it in this Czech glass?
One of the things, I think you find in Geneva is a lot of the residents here have traveled.
Okay, got it.
And they come with an expectation, about what the beer should taste like and beer, how it should be poured. So we have several Brits, expats, who only drink pints, and they will never have it in anything but this. We have several German travelers that understand that the Helles goes into there, and that we have a lot of Czechs that come in, and they love the fact that they can.
And you can't fake that.
No, you can't.
Okay.
No, and it does create some.
In other words, I would never be employed here.
Well, there's training. There's always
Is there training? Okay, good.
We can train anybody.
That's your job. Katie's job.
That's right.
Wow.
But I guess what we can do is we can show you a couple sample pours that might
Yeah,
be
let's do
unique
that.
to our location here.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Where am I going?
Okay.
Katie's going to show us a sample pour, and that is from. You're grabbing one of the Czech glasses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do our Grabtas is our Czech lager, or our Czech pale lager.
Every mug is first rinsed.
Yes.
Why is that?
Sorry, I was going to explain that. I was. Back up. Always rinse your glass first. So this just makes sure it chills the glass a little bit for you.
Oh, it does. Okay.
And then it's cold water, but it also makes sure that there's no sanitizer or anything left in the glass, so that you get a nice clean pour, clean glassware.
Can I just press that for the fun of it?
You can, but water will hit the ceiling or spray you in the face.
Oh, yeah,
which, anybody who's worked with a sprayer behind the bar has gotten sprayed.
Yes.
And particularly me. I'm messy. Am I going on number 2 here? Do we know? I don't know. We'll find out. So, this is not, I lied. This is Veritas.
This is Veritas, our dark Czech lager.
Dark Czech lager.
Dark Czech lager.
Yep, so this is called a Luker tower.
Luker.
So Luker is a manufacturer in the Czech Republic, and if you ever travel through the Czech Republic, you'll see a lot of these copper style taps. And it's a very specific that you actually, contrary to a lot of American pour styles, you actually dip that nozzle down into the beer. And what it does is allows a nice creamy head to come up through the beer, and you can actually control how much foam. This has so many controls on it. It has a flow control, has a ball valve, and there's actually a small micro screen in here that breaks out the carbonation. And we can pour you a whole, what's called a milko pour, which is this is all creamy white foam.
But in the old days, forgive me, the uninformed would say, "Oh, there's too much foam in that." But that's the kind of beer that lends itself to.
Exactly.
Okay,
everybody I think in the U.S. is previously, prior to I'd say the craft brewing revolution, was looking to get as much beer in that shape as possible.
Exactly.
So don't put any foam in there because you're cheating me on beer. Well, with this, you can actually get a 16-ounce pour with several fingers of foam because the glassware is basically metric. It's a half liter to here, which is about 17 ounces.
Oh.
So you basically have a really full pour. We pride ourselves on having kind of a European-style pour.
So if I was to order a red, white, and blue lager, just kidding.
One of those.
Remember that beer?
So the other thing about
I'd be asked to leave.
No, we would never do that to you. But the other thing about foam is that it is actually a huge part of the tasting experience for beer. And that, is part of our thing. Foam follows function is one of our...
Foam follows function.
Yes.
I'd never heard that before.
Yes. Well, I think that's a Tom
I coined
Rao.
it.
You did?
Tom Rao.
That's a Tomism.
Thing.
Yeah.
But it's literally part of our brand. So all of our beers, that's why. So these glasses are actually, like you said, a couple ounces larger than the pour size, so that we're able to pour that foam on there to increase people's experience, their beer drinking experience. There's a lot of aroma and taste that comes out of that foam. That sits right in it. So when you're pouring, nothing to the top, you're missing out on all of that.
Okay, forgive me for this rudimentary question. I've got a beautiful pour. I'm about to enjoy the beer. Do I smell it like I would wine, Do I
can.
taste it slowly for the foam first?
I
How
would
do you?
say the hoppier the beer, the more aroma you will get. So I would
Okay.
say when I'm served an IPA, I like to get that big hop aroma.
Okay.
Malt has a very, very delicate aroma, so you're not going
Wow.
to get much, especially if there's a good head on it. But
Okay.
yeah, depending on the style.
Fascinating.
And that's why there's so many different
Got it.
styles of glasses, because you like that aroma and that foam comes out in each of those styles differently.
Okay.
If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Some concentrate
Excellent.
and some flute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Concentrate and flute, folks.
Concentrate
Speaking of
and
concentrating and fluting, stick with us because we're going to tell you where to find, how to reach, and how to contact our friends at Art History Brewing. Okay, beer lovers, craft beer lovers, Art History Brewing lovers, we're going to invite Tom and Katie to share with all of you where to find you, live and online. So, Tom?
Well, you can find us in the Geneva Plaza, which is at 649 West State Street in Geneva, Illinois. And you can reach us by phone at 630-345-MASH, which is 6274.
What a great number. I love it. And of course, the social media is critically important.
It is, yes. All of our events are online. Arthistorybrewing.com. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Art History Brewing, and Twitter
at Art History Brew 1.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, there you'll find Tom Rowisms.
Yeah, where I get a chance to say stuff with not many people following.
Well, I'm going to follow. I think I already do follow, so that's good. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah,
thank you
thank
to
you
your
guys.
entire team. Congratulations on your success. And we appreciate you being a part of Business Beat. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in. And if you haven't yet, come visit Art History Brewing, because this is the place to be for a good craft beer.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much. So long.